Alright, so I'm repairing the skylight on my pool room here, and there's 7 skylights on this roof. One of them's leaking. You can see it dripping down to the concrete on the inside. So I got it tore apart, and to tear it apart I had to take the aluminum flashing off first, and then after that there was some interior pieces and like some trim pieces. The window had to come off. That had a few screws in it. And then there was some trim pieces on the inside to make it look pretty on the inside. And all those had to come off so I could see down into the roof to see the extent of the damage. And the damage was all on the bottom, mostly in the one corner where you could see it dripping on the inside. But I shot vacuumed out all of the junk and then got it all cleaned up from there. So what I did last night right before it got dark was cut the bottoms of these boards off that were all rotted. So I cut that one off over there, and I cut this one off over here. It was 9.5 inches total on each side, so I cut the same both sides, and I cut it to where we got the good solid wood there. There's no rot there now on either side. And so here's what one side looked like, so you can just see the extent of that rot. So I just cut that off. I didn't want to replace the whole board because it's put together real nice on the tops, and everything's sealed up real good with this like rubber stuff here, and then the metal here too on each side. I didn't want to disturb that. It's not leaking, it's not a problem. All these boards are doing here is holding up the window, so it doesn't have to be this enough. What's already here on the top and the sides is already strong enough to hold a window. So I'm just going to get a new board, cut it to fit on both sides, and then I'll replace the bottom one. I'll get that all nailed or screwed together, and then from there I'll be able to reassemble the window. And the plywood down here is rotted out on both sides too, right there, that the roofing's actually on. So when you step on it, it flexes, but I don't want to tear shingles off, so I'm just going to leave that alone. It'll get all sealed up so it'll dry and it won't get any worse. And one day when we replace this roof's already about 20 years old. So it was a 30-year roof when it was installed. So says the old owners of the house. So, and the roof, it looks that way. It still looks like it has some good life in it. So when we actually go through and replace the roof, we'll replace all these skylights, and we'll replace the rotted wood underneath all the shingles, and we'll go from there. The wood is rotted, like what you would call the rafter, I guess, right here, and we'll go on the other side here. It's probably hard to see, but yeah, see it there? This is 2x4s laid on the side, and one on the top, one on the bottom, with these metal braces going in between. So I can feel around with my hand that on the back side it's still solid, so I'm not real concerned about it. So I'm going to seal it up and keep it nice and dry for now. Alright, so I got some insulation. This is just what I already had. So I had that batting there, and then I also had a bag. I used it all, but it was just a bag of loose insulation, and so I stuck it all down in there, and So I cut 4 pieces of batting out, one in that corner, in there, and down in that corner. And then I took the loose stuff and filled in the holes. And like in that hole, I filled it in there, and in there. And I just used what I already had. That's all the loose stuff I had in a little bag that I used on another project. And then that batting, I already had it, so I stuck it in there. And I did all my measurements, calculations, thought everything out. And got a shopping list here now, so I'm going to go see what I have that'll work for this. And then what I don't have, I'll run to the Home Depot and buy it. Alright, so I just checked my garage for pieces of wood that I could use, and first on the list I needed 2 17-inch boards to strengthen the dry rotted out plywood underneath, and I found this piece of trimmed, this is part of a 2x6 originally, treated lumber. Just had it in my garage, junk wood really for anything, but it's going to work good for this, so I'm going to use it for this. So that's one thing I don't have to buy. So 17 1/4. And there we go, so right there. So I'll do that and make my cut with the old circular saw. Alright, so out of that ripped 2x6 leftover piece I had, I put the 2 17 1/4-inch pieces under there, and that's strengthening now the roof there where that rotted plywood is that I can't replace unless I tear off all the shingles, and I don't want to do that. So I just stuck that in there. It gives that some rigidity until I replace the whole roof like 10 years from now. That'll last because it won't get wet anymore. Now what we got to do is put a 2x6 right in here to fill up this gap that's here. So I'm going to go search my garage and my barn and see what I have. Whoa, I'm in my barn here on the 3rd story, way up high, where I keep a lot of my overstock supply of just stuff. And I found a small section of 2x6, so I can use that for those 9.5-inch pieces. It was like 25 inches long, treated wood, so I'm going to use that. And I still have to go to the store because that's all the rest I found, so I still have to go get more 2x6 and a big sheet of plywood as well. I also found a sheet of plywood. It was treated plywood, almost 3/4 inches thick, and that was in my garage. So I'll use that for the bottom section, but I still need a full sheet to cut in half and trim a little bit to get those side pieces. So, okay, so it's the next day. Went to Home Depot. Got a piece of trim that was rotted out. I'll have to route that though because they didn't have identical looking trim. And then I got a piece of almost 3/4 inch plywood there, and I got a 8-foot 2x6, which is what I've done here now this morning. So I sectioned in those 2 side 9.5-inch pieces there out of the 2x6 that I found in the barn, and then out of the 8-footer there's 2 boards there, about 43 and 44 inches there. So I got one underneath, one on top, so that's nice and strong, and there's a gap there. I probably could have put, well, no, there was not enough room to put an 8-inch wide board in there. You know, 6-inch wide is actually 5.5 inches wide, and so there was not enough room to go up another 2 inches. So got that gap there. I'll find something to fill it in. Alright, so I went to try to find just something to stick in that little slot. Couldn't find anything. I'm not going to worry about it because there's not anything around the rest of it anyway, so it's just all open around the rest of it anyway, so that's not important down there to be filled in at all. That's just, this board here is just more of structural, so the rest of it, that slot don't need filled in. Okay, so I'm moving on to this piece of plywood that I'm replacing here. You see it's super rotted out there, so I'm just matching it up. I'm just matching it up right now to see if it's the right size, and it is. Perfect fit. So I'm going to go down to my new piece of plywood and I'm just going to cut out a replacement section for this rotted piece. Alright, I got that piece of plywood in there. It's a piece of plywood that I already had because I need my full sheet that I bought to do the sides. So that sheet, that was pressure treated plywood that I used when I installed my front door. It was left over and it was almost the perfect size. So I got that nailed in. I reused all the good nails that were in it before, and then past that I had this box of nails here. And I used these nails as well. I already had them, so I used them. Alright, I got the side sheets of plywood in. This was the sheet that I purchased. Almost cut it in half. Kind of made a big T with it, which the T is the part I didn't use. Get that side in, and then I'm sorry about the wind noise. It's just really windy today. Alright, so I got this stuff I'm going to wrap it with. I used this also when I did my front door, and it was a 33-foot roll. And I probably used, you know, maybe 6 feet of it. So I got a lot left, so I'm going to use this around the edges here, and I'll show you when I'm done. Alright, I got that stuff all wrapped around the bottom and sides. Usually you only have to do the bottom on like a door, say. On the window here, I just didn't do in the bottom and the sides because that's where it leaked before, was all around the bottom corners. So top didn't leak, it was fine. And I got it to where it was wrapped around all the way, covering the flashing here. So if water gets in there, it'll just go right over the flashing instead of trying to go behind that flashing. Alright, getting this paneling in. I got the two sides in, the other side's in too. I'm using my nail gun there, and I'm using a 2-inch 18 gauge nail. Why am I using that? Because it's what I had. Alright, so it's working good though, and because I put extra plywood in this, I did have to trim the top and the bottom panel to install it. So you can see on the right where I trimmed it, because it's a clean line, whereas on the left you can see where the shadow was from the edge trim once it was installed. So I'll show you how that nail gun's working. Alright, there you go. Works pretty good. Alright, I got everything done as much as I can. I got all the 4 panels in, but now I'm working on the trim. And what I forgot is when I put an extra sheet of plywood on the sides, that creates that much more that the trim has to cover on the inside. So I think it'll cover it good enough that you won't be able to see it, because it wasn't even 3/4 inch thick. So we're going to find out. Alright, so I got all the bottom trim on. I wanted to make sure I could reach that bottom trim from the inside before I sealed the top up. But I got that all on now. I made an adjustment on the bottom. I'll show it to you. But you can see I had to use every square inch of the concrete that I had available to me to be able to reach up on that far lower end. Alright, I got those little corner pieces in. There's one in each corner. And I used the same nail gun for those. I just put, instead of 2-inch nails, I actually found some 1.5-inch nails. So I used those for those little fragile pieces. Now I'm going to get that top trim in. Alright, another windy day here, but my wife helped me lay the window on the frame. I put silicone all down on the bottom side of the window first, and her and I flipped it over, set it right in place, and then I put the 6 screws back in to where it was. Lined up real nice, and now I sealed up the whole window with silicone. So all the joint pieces I sealed up just like I would any other door or window when you get it. So sealed up in here on this line, on this line here, all with silicone, all the way around the whole thing. So it's sealed up real good, and I siliconed all the screw holes. There's only 6, and now I'm getting ready to put the bottom part together. And I just noticed here that water could come in the back of this when it's on, and then that would run right down and go under these shingles here. So I'm going to silicone all that up too. Alright, I got this bottom all sealed up nice, and actually what I did is I did silicone it, and I got it siliconed on the top right here all the way across. And then I actually took more of this white tape and I ran it about 1 foot up here, all the way down the bottom, and then about 1 foot up on the other side. And I brought it all the way up to the top of the window here and brought it all the way down. So I did that all the way across, and then that overlapped the bottom piece here. So if any water gets in there, it's going to run down this tape and over this bottom piece and out onto the roof instead of getting back behind this. So that's what I did, and I'm just wrapping up, finishing, putting this on here, then it'll be done. Alright, there's the finished project. All done, sealed up, and rain-proof. No more rotting wood. Alright, so thank you for watching this video, and I hope it helps you seal up any door or window that you have, any skylight. And rotting wood is bad. Silicone's good, and you know, find the source, find where it is leaking from exactly, and make sure it doesn't get back in the same way. And thanks for watching, and I'm Brandon Kirby.